What's going on, guys? I'm here at Small Pond Studios here in Brighton, and I'm going to be checking out how to record some classic rock tones with the help of Bruce John Dickinson from Waterbear Music College here in Brighton. Bruce has been kind enough to bring some of his amps down here to Small Pond, and he's going to be talking us through the entire process from setting up the amps, setting up the microphones, what we can do in post, what we can do with the EQ and everything like that, and applying everything that we look at to home recording as well as luxury studios like this, and even how you can get something like similar results even from using a laptop and something like GarageBand. I'm happy for Bruce to take the lead in this video, as he's the one who's had the #1 album in the main charts here in the UK. He's had tours with Guns N' Roses and so many of my other favourite kind of classic rock bands, as well as teaching exactly what we're looking at here at master's and degree level. And yeah, very excited about today. We're here in the control room now, but I'm going to start off by taking you next door, and we're going to be setting up the amp and microphones. Let's check it out.
So here we are in Small Pond Studios, Brighton, with Sam, the resident engineer, and we're going to have a great fun time recording guitar sounds. So we're in the actual live room here, control room's next door. Now Sam's mic'd up a cab. The cab contains fairly standard speakers. It's vintage 30s.
Vintage Celestion 30s.
Yeah, that's it. So it's an old Marshall cab, I think, that's been stripped and well used. The two heads on top of here are spares. The actual one we're using is a Plexi based thing, like an old Marshall, a very classic sound. And Sam has mic'd up the cab in a particular way, and I think it's fair to say that you could probably learn how to do this and similar stuff like it either at home or if you're in a professional studio. Same principles. Would you mind explaining, Sam, what you've done and what mics you've used?
Yeah, so we've gone for something pretty basic. SM57 here on the cab. We've decided to put it away from the centre of the cone a little bit, about maybe half an inch to an inch from the edge of the cone, and we found we got a nice thick tone there. And then we've paired that with a ribbon mic. This is an SE-R1 ribbon mic. That's a bit further back, maybe 1.5 foot back from the cone, and that's getting a lot of the nice room sound and a nice tone from the amp as well. And
from a guitarist point of view, some of this stuff you can tweak to suit your own playing and what the song's doing. Particularly this 57, the placement. It's a lovely cheap mic. Anyone can buy one of these for less than 100 quid. You can get second-hand ones all over the place. It's usually mic'd here, which is where most people like it, and it's a bit brighter in the middle of the cone. And as you go here, it gets a little bit darker, which is kind of what I like. If you shine your torch on it, it's a good little tip. You can actually see where the cone is.
Yeah.
And you can get your placement exactly where you want it. And another little tip is you can be playing in the studio while someone's got ear defenders on. They can be moving the mic around, and when it feels good to you in the control and you stop playing, that's the point they stop. It's a Brian May trick, that one.
That sounds great.
It does, and 57s are lovely because they give you this direct punchy kind of thing. Gives you that kind of in-your-face kind of clarity. The ribbon gives you character, and it gives a warmth to it and a bit of an old retro-y kind of thing. It's a very nice feel thing to play. But there is a little bit of a problem, which I'd like to ask Sam about, that you can get a problem with phasing. If you've got two mics or more, you can get complications when your guitar suddenly sounds like it's all distant and it's not punchy, you know, because of this phase problem. So Sam, how do you identify that, and what can you do about it?
So phase cancellation is essentially, you've got a waveform starting at 0 and your waveform's going up to say +12 and then down to -12. If you've got, or wherever, if you've got two mics picking up the same source, you might have that +12 hitting at the same time as your -12 because they're not perfectly in sync or the same distance or in phase. So what you start to get then is you get cancellation, you start to lose frequencies. So it might sound, your guitar amp might sound great in the room, but through there on Pro Tools or whatever you're recording into, it starts to sound really thin, and that's because you're losing those frequencies to phase cancellation.
Well, what you're hearing when you hear phase cancellation is just that complete lack of the whole character of the amp. The middles that are coming through the highs, all of those just feel like they've been scooped out and all your EQ's been turned down. That's what it sounds like. So how do we prevent that?
So you can prevent that two ways. You might get lucky and you can just hit the phase flip or polarity switch button on your desk your preamp in Pro Tools, whatever, and that sometimes just fixes it first time. If not, what you want to come in here and start moving mics around, and you can start by just moving this back maybe quarter of a foot at a time, something like that. Just move things around until you find the sweet spot between the two mics.
There's a very organic process there. If it sounds good,
that's it. Yeah. And there's actually nothing saying that if you've got some phase cancellation, that isn't the right sound. You're just using your ears.
And just to be totally clear, the phase cancellation is only really an issue when we're having two mics on the same amplifier.
On the same source.
So a question for you, Sam. If someone's just trying this out at home, even on GarageBand, can they get good guitar sounds with just 157? Is that possible?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's how most people start.
What's that going to give you?
So here, like we say, we've got the nice upfront, almost grunty tone of the 57. And then we've got the softer, warmer, more roomy sound of this. It's not to say you don't need the two of them. It's nice to have the option in the mix. You can change the balance. But maybe you just, you want a bit of room sound, so you just move this back a little bit and you get the best of both worlds on one mic.
Very interested. And I've seen a lot of the modern rock players don't want that warm, saggy room sound so much. And often they will just use 257s.
Yeah, certainly if you're getting into kind of the metal world and things, people don't want a room sound necessarily at all. They want that upfront, clean.
And also if you record a room sound, you can't get rid of it if you don't like it later.
Exactly. Well, you can if you've got the two mics.
Yeah, of course. That's the advantage of having two. It gives you the two options. If you were to just go for one, it would be what are you after, which is what it all comes down to.
But in this situation, if you asked me to lose one, I would lose this one. Although it's bringing a lovely tone in there, this is the workhorse for this tone today.
Live, typically, that's the only one that would be considered. Really.
Yeah. Live, very often, 157 does the job. And if I'm doing any big gigs, I only want one mic because I definitely don't want any phasing problems.
Exactly. That's what you're just asking for.
10 minutes setup time, get one mic on and off you go. Just say one other thing while we're in this room.
Sure.
A thing that'll have a factor on your guitar sound is the room. Even when something's close mic, it will pick up the character of the room to a surprising degree. So a lot of it depends on the song, how much room you've got to breathe on the track. If you want it bang in your face, you might even have a much smaller room than this. And this room's treated really well for guitar. What's really frustrating is sometimes rooms that sound great to be in have that bathroomy kind of blashy kind of thing. They don't record very well. So this dead thing is kind of... So someone could make a recording room in the house, couldn't they, in a broom cupboard or something?
Absolutely.
Wicked.
Fab.
Nice, useful stuff.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, fab.
Easy.
It's all good. So we've mic'd up the cab. Shall we just see what we've got coming back? I think that's quite a good starting point.
And before we get into, I know you're into volume controls and everything, what are we actually doing on the amp? Because my audience are very obsessed with amp settings and think that everything can be EQ'd and gained to get kind of any sound that you want.
Yeah, I think with these old amps, the thing is, you want to get out what you're putting into it. I'm using a 1978 Les Paul Custom. It's got a particular sound to it. It's quite an aggressive for a Les Paul. A good starting point with a classic old valve amp or any of those retro amps, set everything at 2 o'clock as a starting point. So I've just tweaked the presence a little bit because it's pretty dark. But basically, I'm running the amp fairly hot. The distortion is coming from the tubes, the power tubes. So it's not preampy, so it gives me a bit of a Paul Cosmo. There's a certain kind of harmonic overtones that you get with the power amp.
That would be the difference, that you're hearing more of the harmonic when it's distorting through the power amps rather than preamps.
Yes, and it's very simple.
That's what we want.
Single channel. I mean, you clean it up by old school, just kind of... You've just turned it down in effect. And on my pedal board, if I want a bit more gain, which I probably will, I'll give it a whump with an old school treble booster. So that's what they used to use before fuzz boxes and before tube screamers.
And in my experience, that is where most of the overdrive or saturation that you hear is.
Yes.
I think proportionally it's more in the treble than any other part. So treble boosts. See, I really like an unsaturated heavy sound.
Right.
Without just cranking, without just putting 3 pedals on it and it being like huge.
So you got detail.
Exactly. Clean it up. It's sounding great, especially from what we're hearing here. But it sounds frigging loud next door. I almost want to keep a mic set up in there just to hear the airplane, setting off.
And I think it's quite nice if you've got a sound where you can actually stop playing without the guitar being totally out of control. But then
without it hissing and hearing noise and stuff, because you're always going to if you have super high gain and a pedal.
And you can sort of get a feeling of more gain by the way you hit it.
That's my
that's your guitar sound, really, isn't it?
Especially I'm predominantly a rhythm player, so I'm all on those thicker 3 strings and hitting them as hard as I can for my general playing style.
However, there's something that's bugging me about this sound, which is it's a little bit too dark. I quite like a middly retro sound. Yeah. But I think we can change the balance between those 2 mics.
Okay.
So what I'd like to do is hear a bit more of the 57, which is a bit more toppy and in your face, and a little bit less of that ribbon, because that Jimmy Pagey thing is just a little bit too much.
And is that because you've got experience of these settings and you know what you're going for?
I can just hear it. It just sounds...
What makes you think it's mic placement rather than adjusting something on the amp?
It's the character rather than the tonality.
Okay.
It's the room. I'm hearing a little bit too much room.
Not enough of the 57.
It's too squashy. And I've got it totally dry, there's no reverb or anything yet, so it's still got a few little things to go. I think a little bit more 57 will give it a little bit of punch.
Okay. So channel 2 is the ribbon, so probably just take that down a touch and maybe put the 57 up a touch.
Okay, that's not bad. Now if we were making a record, I'd now faff around a little bit with the room. I'd put more acoustic enclosures around the amp. That'll make it even more, a bit drier,
Okay.
But that's really nice. I'd like to hand the guitar to you now and see where we can take this sound, and because there's a couple more stages we can do after that mic.
Okay.
So have a go, play whatever you like. Something fairly simple will work for this. What we could do is just talk about the board. Just give us a part that you're going to play on, bro. That's the treble booster, fairly low. This is the it's like having a channel strip on your board. A bit faster.
That's my kind of thing.
Yeah. There is a bit of Super Duper, which is basically a preamp. Sounding very much like you've got a NEVE channel strip or something going into your amp. So it's just giving your amp a bit of a kick and muscling it up a little bit.
I can see why you like those.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good. The other effect is sometimes I'll try that. Just it's a bit of a low octave from an old. Do you want to go with that classic?
thing.
Yeah, great. Shall we try out a bit of reverb? Oh no, first of all, we need Sam to explain what can be done with a bit of EQ post the mic, because this can really bring out that brighter top end that we're lacking a little bit here.
Yeah, as well.
Okay, so here in the control room, we've come through our API 500 series preamps and down into the desk, and then coming up 2 faders on the NEVE, recording through Pro Tools here. So we'll hear that. It's 57. And then this will be the ribbon mic. So they both sound great on their own. The ribbon mic has a bit more of the room and a bit more of that ribbon character. 57 has great grunt, but we're wondering if maybe that 57 could have a bit more kind of top end, a bit more bite. So I'm just going to use one of these NEVE EQs, and we're just going to put a little bit of maybe 3, 4, 5k into that sound. So let's just hear that.
There you go.
So all I've done there is a bit of a boost at 3k, which has just brought out that edge to the guitar.
You know, guitar sound is, I don't know, it's really important to me, and I don't know why, but that's really great.
Yeah?
That's really making me think that's a proper great sound. Let's hit record now.
Yeah?
It's good. We've also, I think it's made quite a dramatic difference. We've got a bit of an acoustic baffle, and I've just moved it in front of the mics, and it's brought the room down a little bit.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
It's made quite a lot of difference.
It's really taken the low and the muffle out of that ribbon. I noticed that.
It's the ribbon, isn't it?
Question for you, Sam.
Yeah.
If someone's working at home, and what can they do if they haven't got a NEVE EQ or they haven't got a channel strip? What could they do just to do some fine tuning on the guitar?
Plugins. There are hundreds, thousands of plugins which are designed to do exactly the same as this. Some of them are designed to sound like an analog NEVE, SSL, API EQ. Some of them are designed to work as a digital EQ. In digital you can do things that people 30, 40, 50 years ago never dreamed of in analog. So they're just 2 different ways. It's not to say which one's better. Get involved in some plugins. Some of them you can pick up super cheap. Some of them you can pick up demos and try them out for free, and just start playing around with ideas.
So why don't we record some rhythm guitar, and then shall I whack a little bit of lead on it and stick some effects on after the mic as well?
Yeah.
Do you want to do it like that, Andy?
Yeah, sure. Sounds good to me.
Do you want that riff you were doing is really good. Down the AC/DC. Then
say again.
Put the little run in every 4th time. And play it exactly the same. Define the part, because I'm going to need to double it.
Okay.
Which will be a nice little thing to show people. So if you go for a good 32 bars, so let it go on for 8, and then the second time you'll double it.
Okay.
It's a really good riff for
That's my
this.
stuff.
And it was tighter then. So should we track to that?
Yeah.
So let it go around for like 8
Do you want
bars and just join in so people can hear the effect of the double.
Yeah, can we have just copy that one ahead and then I'll record over it.
Cool.
Sound alright?
Sounds good, really good. So what we can do if you want is slap a bit of reverb on.
Yeah.
Do you want to do some lead?
Yeah. Yeah, let's do some.
Insanely loud like it's a gig.
What?
I would track insanely loud like it's a gig. It's wicked. You get a wicked phrase, don't be afraid of
Just repeating it, yeah, I know.
Because it's there was a couple of them that I wish I was kind of like waiting for it to come again. It was sounding
Yeah.
wicked. The minor stuff is sounding wicked. That responsiveness off the A string, it's really great.
Early. I
No worries,
genuinely just got excited and went early. I got there eventually.
I track really, really loud.
Yeah?
Do stuff like that just for the vibe.
And just changes it.
The whatever the speakers up from the NS10 did Jezzy's studio, we were tracking.
Yeah?
And then we had to stop because there was smoke coming out. Literally.
Thank you so much for checking out this video, guys. How Ace is Bruce. If you want to learn more about what Waterbury Music College have to offer, you can click the links in the description of this video.